Hello, welcome to another edition of Chris Collects. Today we're going to be looking at something a little bit different. We are going to be doing a 4K Blu-ray review. And in my first 4K Blu-ray review, we're going to take a look at Scream. So, before we get into how this film looks and sounds on 4K, I just want to give a kind of bit of an overall. So, Scream came out in the mid-90s. It was kind of like a big subverting expectations of horror. You know, it was kind of really playing with horror tropes quite a bit. And it was, you know, a big film for that era. So much so that, you know, even now we're getting another film, you know, so many years down the line. Now, this film is a Paramount release, and it was shot on 35mm film, which means in terms of the transfer, there's loads of information that they're able to pull from those film prints to get kind of the best kind of version of this film. It is 235 by 1 aspect ratio, so that does mean you have the letterbox bars, but that is kind of a standard thing in this day and age. Now, the thing I want to talk about the most in terms of visuals is the HDR. Okay, so the HDR on Scream is really good. However, if you've watched a lot of 4Ks, you probably won't notice a lot of the finer details straight away because it's a little bit more subtle in the way that it uses its HDR. So it kind of makes the film look a lot more natural. And actually, I'd never owned this film in any format, and I went ahead and compared it to the Blu-ray disc as well. And it actually sort of just highlights how bad the Blu-ray transfer is in comparison to the 4K transfer, because the Blu-ray sort of turns up the contrast, which kind of washes out a lot of the natural color, whereas with the 4K and with the HDR and HDR10 and the Dolby Vision, it really allows a lot of those kind of colors to pop without it feeling like it's washing out a lot of the natural look to the film, which makes it really nice to watch because you kind of see how this film was meant to look. It kind of takes you back to how this film should have looked when you would go to see it in the cinema in the mid-90s, which, you know, I was born in the mid-90s, so I did not see this in the cinema when it came out. But this, I feel like, is probably the closest I'm going to be able to get to watching that original 35mm film print. I am going to put some screenshots to kind of show you what I'm talking about, and some comparison shots as well of the Blu-ray versus the 4K. So I just wanted to add a bit more explanation about these screenshots for Scream. So it might be quite hard to tell in some shots. You may be alluded to the fact that the Blu-ray looks like it's better, but that's purely because what the Blu-ray transfer has done is it's cranked up the contrast and the brightness, which makes it look like there's loads of colour. But what it has actually done has dulled it's dulled the image. So when you see certain shots of certain people, their skin tones won't always look natural. It's especially evident on that close-up shot of Sydney on the phone. That, I think, is a real sort of telling sign of how much better the 4K image is over the Blu-ray image. And it's until you see the kind of comparisons, you don't really realize what the HDR and the HDR10 and the Dolby Vision is really doing for this movie. It's doing this movie absolute wonders, and it makes it look absolutely amazing. And as I sort of go through these screenshots, you can kind of see what I'm talking about in terms of how the Blu-ray transfer looks really kind of washed out in terms of the way that they've done the contrast. Whereas you look at the 4K, and the 4K just looks really natural. It looks like it's, you know, captured by the human eye. It looks as though you're in the room, and that's what you should be able to see with it. So in terms of picture quality, I'm going to give the picture quality on Scream a really solid 4.5 out of 5. I think the only thing that sort of knocks it down a bit for me personally is, although it looks great, it's not exactly a reference disc. It's not something where, if you're trying to show your friends what 4K can do, it's not one that you're pulling out, because there's no kind of really big moments where the picture quality really just highlights how impressive 4K really is. But it is a great picture nonetheless. Now, in terms of audio, this does not have a updated audio track, so it does not have a Dolby Atmos track. It is still using the DTS HD 5.1 master audio track, which is the same audio track as on the Blu-ray, but it's a good audio track. There's nothing really wrong with the audio track. It would have been nice to have had a Dolby Atmos track, but you know, you gotta win some and lose some, really, with physical media. So in that respect, I'm going to give the audio track a 4 out of 5, purely because I just would have liked a Dolby Atmos track. So if we take a look again at the release, I just want to talk a little bit about the special features. These, I believe, are ported over from the original Blu-ray release, but they are also on the 4K disc, which I thought was quite interesting. So you've got a Bloody Legacy, Scream 25 years later. I think that one's a new one, though. That one, I think, is the only new one. Audio commentary by director Wes Craven and writer Kevin Williamson. Production featurettes, behind the scenes, and a Q&A with cast and crew. So it's not loaded with special features. I'd give the special features probably about 3.5, 4 out of 5, really. I am a guy that likes, you know, quite a lot of special features. It's quite nice to be able to dig really deep into the film. Standard packaging, though. You've got your Scream slipcover. I am a big fan of the black cases for 4K Ultra HD. Both the discs are pretty much identical in appearance. It would have been nice to get some artwork on the discs, but again, you know, you win some, you lose some. So that is Scream on 4K. Overall, I think it's worth a pickup. I think if you're like me and you don't own it at all, then it's 100% worth a pickup. If you've got the Blu-ray release, then I still would say it's worth a pickup, because once you see the comparison between the two, it's like night and day. I do also want to preference that the images I've shown, they're not going to look as good as they could do, because obviously they're in a YouTube video, so it's being compressed. However, I will leave a link in the description to the website in which I got these screenshots from, okay? Because once you see it on your own device properly, then you'll kind of get a better idea of the kind of Blu-ray versus 4K picture quality. But that is Scream on 4K. Let me know if you've got this. Let me know what you think of this. Let me know if you're thinking of buying this. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.